Welcome to But Frankly Pierce News. I'm Arthur Fairview. Here's what we're facing. Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert is in hot water before her first term is even up. First, the Attorney General of Colorado referred Boebert for an investigation into the mileage reimbursements she submitted for 2020.
So she did a lot of driving.
What's the point?
Boebert claims she drove 38,712 miles in 2020, or over 126 miles every day leading up to Election Day, campaigning for her position in Congress.
On the road again.
38,712 miles?
But the Earth is only 24,901 miles around.
Exactly. The mileage is so inflated, they total more than the circumference of the Earth. Second, Boebert also used more than $20,000 in campaign reimbursements to pay off the tax debts she and her husband racked up on their Colorado restaurant, Shooter's Grill, a friendly local eatery where all the staff prominently display their open carry handguns.
Well, that's illegal.
Extremely illegal.
Or, as the group that filed the complaint against her put it to Colorado's Attorney General and another official, as you are both fully aware, utilizing an illegal source of funds or ill-gotten funds to pay off a tax lien is illegal in Colorado and under federal law.
That is quite literally the definition of ill-gotten funds.
So what is the AG doing about it?
Campaign finance inquiries are notoriously slow processes, so the state's investigations are unlikely to reach any conclusions prior to Colorado's primaries later this month or the November general election. But impact of the group that compiled and referred the complaint, American Muckrakers PAC, is a different story.
American Muckrakers?
Yes, this is the same outfit that helped sink Boebert's far-right Nazi enthusiast colleague Madison Cawthorn's 2022 re-election bid in a matter of weeks by flooding the media space with negative content about the soon-to-be former congressman.
Job well done.
And it could very well spell similar trouble for Boebert. As David Wheeler, the president of the PAC, put it, Colorado deserves more than an irresponsible, loudmouth member of Congress.
Maybe it's time for Boebert to look for another line of work.
And on Twitter, plenty of people were all in favor of that suggestion.
Third, Washington Republican Representative Jaime Herrera Beutler criticized Boebert for tweeting the location of members of Congress during the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. The confrontation between the two occurred 5 days after the attack on January 11th, according to recently leaked audio of the encounter. A furious Herrera Beutler accused Boebert of helping the mob of white nationalists, white supremacists, and the minions of failed former President Donald Trump, who attacked the United States Capitol on the false premise the 2020 general election had been stolen, putting the lives of her colleagues in danger.
Is it true that you were live tweeting from the floor our location to people on the outside as we were being attacked, Lauren?
Yes, those tweets did go out, and that was something that was live and public information that was broadcast live from.
So don't ask us about security if you're telling the attackers where we're at. I yield back.
So that was something that was being broadcast live from C-SPAN, and once we were on the move, there was absolutely nothing else that was broadcast.
Not to be outdone in the category of most ludicrous member of Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene has once again opened her mouth and put her foot in it.
That seems like low-hanging fruit.
Greene was standing up for the terrorists and insurrectionists that attacked the Capitol on January 6th when she made this faux pas.
Why their due process rights are being so flagrantly and horrifically violated.
You can never be sure with Greene, but we believe she meant flagrant.
Hey, you never know. She could be speaking about the sweetest smelling insurrectionists around.
She would know.
Shower, shower each day helps keep odor away.
And now, a public service announcement for our viewers in Georgia's 14th District and Colorado's 3rd District. As we have consistently shown, there are several members of Congress that have shown themselves to be, what's the word?
Mad?
Deranged?
Non-compos mentis?
That. So to those people in Georgia and Colorado, remember this when you vote.
Too bad you're crazy. Too bad you're loony as hell.
Speaking of insurrectionists, this is hot off the press. Alabama Representative Mo Brooks, you remember Mo.
Hey, Mo!
Mo Brooks lost in the Alabama primary, so he will not be in Congress much longer.
And there was much rejoicing.
And now for something completely different.
Not really.
Schrodinger's senator. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin wanted to hand deliver fake electors to former Vice President Mike Pence on the morning of January 6th. This evidence came from a text message exchanged between Sean Riley, Johnson's chief of staff, and Chris Hodgson, the chief of staff for the Vice President Mike Pence. On January 6th, moments before the joint session in Congress commenced to approve the electors and validate the election in Joe Biden's favor, Riley texted Hodgson with an urgent request.
Johnson needs to hand something to B. POTUS. Please advise.
What is it?
Alternate slate of electors from Michigan and Wisconsin because archivists didn't receive them.
Do not give that to him.
Alexa Henning, spokesperson for Johnson, tweeted in response to the text messages, saying that the senator had no involvement in the creation of an alternate slate of electors and had no foreknowledge that it was going to be delivered to our office. She described it as a staff-to-staff exchange. The vice president's office said not to give it to him, and we did not. She added there was no further action taken. End of story.
So, if a tree falls in the forest and a staffer didn't pass it on, did it make a noise?
I believe it did. A big noise.
So, in essence, Johnson is guilty and innocent.
This was a staff-to-staff exchange, and I was, basically unaware of it. And the chief of staff contacted the vice president's staff, said, "Do you want this?" They said no, and we didn't deliver it, and that's the end of the story.
But why was he even asking for that?
Because somebody delivered this to our office and asked to deliver that to the vice president.
Did you support his efforts to try to get those slates to the vice president?
No, I had no knowledge of this.
Who's the person?
I had no involvement in an alternate slate of electors. I had no idea this thing would be delivered to us. Got delivered staff to staff. My chief of staff did the right thing. Contacted the vice president's staff. They said didn't want it, so we didn't deliver it.
Who's the person?
Again, that's the end of story.
End of story. Where have I heard that before? Now, the award for the best text message quote of the week goes to Wisconsin Republican Party Executive Director Mark Jefferson, and dated 9:02 p.m. on January 4th, 2021, alluded to Trump campaign officials urging for the fake electors to be flown into Washington, D.C. ahead of January 6th. Freaking Trump idiots want someone to fly original elector papers to the Senate president.
Shit.
With all of the information coming out through the committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the Capitol, many who once refused to speak are starting to. More and more information is coming to light. Mikey Sherrill, representative from New Jersey, featured previously on this program, witnessed tours of the Capitol complex on January 5th, the day before the insurrection. Republicans laughed it off, slandered Ms. Sherrill, and used the age-old tactic of denial and distraction.
Of course they did.
But recent footage released by the committee shows Georgia Representative Barry Loudermilk leading a group through the Capitol complex, while one member, who was identified as one of the attackers on January 6th, took very specific photographs in the areas not normally on tours. You can see this man taking pictures of entryways leading to and from the areas where congressional offices are located. Various security checkpoints. Loudermilk himself seems to be pointing things out near this security checkpoint. Entrances to underground tunnels used to travel to and from the Capitol building.
These are not normal tour stops.
Certainly not the last time I went.
More footage was released from the committee that was made by the individual taking the photographs on Loudermilk's January 5th tour on January 6th.
We are basically at the Capitol with probably close to 2 million true American patriots. They are swarming and converging mainly from Constitution Avenue, but from all routes in. There's no escape, Pelosi, Schumer, Nadler. We're coming for you. We're coming in like white on rice for Pelosi, Nadler, Schumer, even you, AOC. We're coming to take you out.
After the release of the footage, Representative Loudermilk was asked about this.
In the video, it clearly shows an individual taking photos of a security checkpoint in the basement that leads to the Capitol.
What they were taking a picture of is I took the family, and of course the other folks were with them, have 2 young kids that wanted to see the little trains that take congressmen. So I took them to show them where the trolley was in the Raven Tunnel.
But why do you think pictures were being taken of a stairwell, around security?
If you go to that stairwell, there's a golden eagle sconce that's on the wall. That's what I was taking a picture of. I mean, these are folks who had never been to Washington, D.C. And they were here to visit their congressman. And
so why not just speak to the committee and just...
Because the committee's never called me and asked me anything.
They sent a letter asking for your voluntary cooperation.
They never sent it to me.
Your office never received it?
No, never. Never received a letter, never received a phone call, never received an email. They sent it to you guys. I found out about it on my way to the airport a month ago. So when I get on the plane, I see my picture on TV screens all over the plane as some kind of evil conspirator. That tells me they're not interested in the truth. They're only interested in creating a narrative for you guys.
But why would you give the tour in the first place if at that time tours weren't really allowed?
There were no tours of the Capitol. We were allowed to bring people into the office. There was no scheduled tour. This family wanted to come visit their congressman. They were coming to Washington. So we told them, well, you can come to my office. We'd actually planned to go to lunch with them. And so, you know, they're building a narrative so you guys will run with it. The problem that's happening, we've had to shut our phones down because of the death threats. I've had to close my offices in the district because of the threats that are to my staff. This happened 4 weeks ago. It's happened here today because of the irresponsibility of the committee, not talking to me, but talking to you guys, that goes out and then all the crazies start making all the threats.
But you guys,
this is the big problem.
You guys are all together on the House floor. Why not just have a conversation?
That's my question. Why doesn't somebody come talk to me?
But you could talk to them too.
Yeah, absolutely. But
so, do you plan to at these next votes?
If somebody wants to talk to me, I'll talk to them. But they avoid me on the floor. I mean, no one's ever come in and discussed it. They're not, in my opinion, they're not interested in getting the truth. If they were, every one of them has a phone book that has my 5-digit extension. They could have picked it up and called me anytime over the last year and 4 months. We're not getting anything reasonable out of the committee. I've got nothing to hide, but I want a little honesty on their part as well.
So if they renew their request with you directly, will you cooperate and sit down with them?
We're going to have to see about that because I want to see an honest discourse from them.
So once again, deny and distract.
What do they say about breaking eye contact as a sign of someone lying?
Yeah, there was a good bit of that, wasn't there?
Indeed.
In the end, the interview was a textbook GOP denial and distraction, actually trying to lay the blame back on the committee.
Maybe he should have tried the old Jedi mind trick.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
Move along.
Move along. Move along.
I think he did, and failed miserably.
Honestly, do you think we're that stupid?
Don't answer that.
On that same topic, the J6 committee interviews have drawn some interesting attention. The Department of Justice is now asking for transcripts of all interviews. The DOJ is almost sending a message to people in Congress who aided or abetted. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
And they are starting to speak up.
Better late than never.
But in the end, there are so many people involved.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
As these hearings continue, more evidence is laid at the feet of the American people. Will the DOJ take up the charge and bring people to justice? Will we see a return to the rule of law? Time will tell, but in the end, the big lie keeps growing. sowing the seeds of discourse and violence along the way. Now the Select Committee has postponed the rest of the hearings as new evidence has come to light. But I want to leave you with this thought. As the information continues to be brought to light and the threats against members of Select Committee and witnesses, this is going to come to a head. As for prosecutions and consequences for those who are responsible, ask yourself the following. Was it illegal?
Yes.
Did they know it was illegal?
Yes.
Did they try to do it anyway?
Yes.
Did they get caught?
So what are we going to do here, folks? I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
Absolutely.
If you all answered yes, then I believe there will be legal troubles for those individuals. This has been the Frankly Pierce News. Thanks for watching. I'm Arthur Fairview. We can't last forever living on lies. Now more than ever, we're living on lies.